The Homeless Man Who Saved a Billionaire's Daughter. Chapter 6, Secrets Untold. The rain returned to Manhattan late the following evening, washing over the reinforced floor-to-ceiling windows of the Sterling estate in heavy, rhythmic streams. In the private living quarters on the upper floor, Aria sat at a large mahogany table covered with archived files, old news clippings, and digital memory drives. Across the room, Ethan stood by the window, his back to her, silently observing the street traffic 60 floors below through a pair of thermal night vision binoculars. "You don't talk about her, do you?" Aria asked quietly, breaking a long hour of silence. Ethan didn't turn around immediately. "There is nothing to talk about, Miss Sterling. The past doesn't change because we speak of it." "Her name was Clara," Aria said, her voice soft with genuine empathy as she held up an archived legal document from 7 years ago. "She was 28. An architect. You were married for 4 years before Vance security was torn apart." Ethan lowered the binoculars. For a second, his powerful frame seemed to stiffen, a rare crack appearing in his hardened exterior. He turned slowly to face her, his sharp blue eyes dark with buried memories. "You've been digging into my files," Ethan said, his voice dropping into a dangerous, low register. "I asked Arthur for the unredacted files on Carter Industries," Aria corrected gently, meeting his gaze without fear. "I wanted to understand what happened between you and Julian. I wanted to know why a man who spent his life protecting people ended up sleeping on a subway grate under the Queensboro Bridge." Ethan walked slowly toward the table, his footsteps heavy against the hardwood floor. He looked down at the faded photograph of Clara, a smiling young woman with bright hazel eyes standing beside a younger, smiling Ethan in a military uniform. "Julian didn't just want my company, Aria," Ethan said softly, using her first name for the very first time. "He wanted my life's work project Aegis. It was a predictive, satellite-driven defense grid capable of stopping cyberattacks and tracking hostile threats anywhere on Earth before they could strike. I wanted to give it to the Department of Defense. Julian wanted to sell it to global private military syndicates for billions." He reached out, his calloused thumb lightly tracing the edge of the photograph before pulling his hand back. "When I refused to sell the code, he framed me. He altered the server logs to make it look like I was selling military secrets to foreign cartels. The federal government seized my assets overnight. 2 days before my trial, Clara's car was tampered with. A rigged brake line, disguised as a mechanical failure." Aria felt a lump form in her throat. "And Julian got away with murder." "He got away with everything," Ethan corrected coldly. "The charges against me were dropped because without Clara, I was a broken man who couldn't fight back in court. Julian bought my patents for pennies on the dollar from the bankruptcy trustees, rebranded my firm as Carter Industries, and built his fortune on her blood." "So why didn't you kill him?" Aria asked quietly. "A man with your skills, you could have found him 7 years ago." Ethan looked her dead in the eye, his expression carved from stone. "Because killing him would have made him a martyr to his board, and it wouldn't have brought Clara back. I wanted to die, Aria. I walked into the dark because I believed I didn't deserve to breathe while she was under the ground. Aria stood up, stepping around the table until she was standing directly in front of him. She reached out, her fingers gently touching his sleeve. "You saved me, Ethan," she whispered, her eyes shining with absolute earnestness. "You had every reason to stay in that dark alley and let the world burn. But you stepped out into the rain and bled for a girl you didn't even know. That isn't a broken man. That is a hero who lost his way." Ethan stared down at her, stunned by the absolute sincerity in her voice. For 7 years, no one had looked at him as anything other than a dangerous ghost or a street beggar. But standing in this room, dressed in a sharp suit, looking into Aria's eyes, he felt a strange, long-dormant warmth stir deep inside his chest. Before Ethan could answer, the red emergency alarm on his wrist communicator vibrated violently, flashing an urgent warning light. At the same time, the monitors across the room blared with a sharp, high-pitched diagnostic tone. "Commander." Marcus's voice burst through the comms channel, thick with urgency. "We have a massive perimeter breach at the Sterling Global Server Hub downtown. Someone just uploaded a high-level override virus directly into our core network." Ethan snapped back into full tactical mode instantly, the brief moment of vulnerability evaporating. He strode over to the master control console, his fingers flying across the keys. "It's a Trojan horse program," Ethan analyzed, his eyes narrowing as lines of corrupt red code devoured Sterling Global's primary firewalls. "It's built on my old Aegis framework architecture. Julian isn't trying to kidnap you tonight, Aria. He's wiping your father's company off the global financial market. Can you stop it?" Victor Sterling asked, rushing into the room with Arthur close behind, his face pale with panic. "Our stock trading systems, our satellite feeds, if those servers go down for more than an hour, Sterling Global will face bankruptcy by morning." "I can't stop it from here," Ethan declared, grabbing a heavy black tactical coat from a chair and checking his sidearm. The virus was planted locally using a physical flash drive inserted directly into the mainframe server rack downtown. "Someone inside your IT security team gave them access." "The traitor," Marcus growled. "I'm going downtown," Ethan said, pulling on his gloves. "Marcus, seal this penthouse. Level 4 lockdown. No one enters or leaves until I return." "Ethan, wait." Aria stepped forward, grabbing his arm. "It could be a trap to draw you out." Ethan looked down at her hand on his coat, then met her eyes with an unyielding, fierce calm. "Let them set their traps, Aria," Ethan said quietly. "It's time I reminded Julian Carter what happens when you step into a ghost's territory." Without another word, Ethan turned and strode toward the private elevator, leaving behind a family fighting for survival and an heiress who knew, deep down, that her heart was no longer safe from the man who guarded her life.